want to wait a few minutes?
Well, I guess we can start. I don't know how to judge, so.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and start, and people will pop in.
Okay.
And like I said, we're all going to be able to add, oh, we have one more guest popping in. Access this later on. So if somebody is stuck in traffic, finishing up groceries, then they can review anything that they missed.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know it's a wet Monday night and it's Monday, but welcome to the Wooten Center's Parent Power Group Workshop, the first of 2021. My name is Rebecca Dabbs, and I am the workshop's moderator with the center. Let me see if I could click through here. So I am sure that most of you are familiar with the center, but for our new community members, or just as a refresher, I want to say welcome again and give you some background on our center. We are a nonprofit organization which was founded by Myrtle Rump in 1990 to honor her son who was tragically killed in a drive-by shooting. We provide free after-school and summer programs for students in ages in grades 3 to 12 in the South Los Angeles area, as well as programs such as our Parent Power Group workshop to support the families as well. The workshops are presented in partnership with the Green Foundation and other donors, which can be found at www.wootencenter.org/donors. And let's see. So I am also the center's COVID-19 health educator, and I want to share some information with you all on COVID-related resources. If you or a loved one is in need of a COVID test, you can get free tests done at a testing site near you. Please visit the link on the bottom, and what I will do, I will also put this in the chat, so you could just link it and you could have it in your toolbox should you need it later on. Additionally, if you need COVID support, one of our partners, the Green Foundation, is a great resource. Please contact them at 323-229-3411 or email them at info@thegreenfoundation.net. And I will also put those two in the chat as well. So as I said earlier, thank you again for joining us for our first spring 2021 Parent Power Group workshops. These are free workshops and available to parents, grandparents, guardians, or anyone who's in a supporting role for young children and teens. They're held weekly on Monday evening from 6 p.m. and you can register at thewootencenter.org/events. Our upcoming workshops are, like I said, every Monday. So the ones coming up are helping your children succeed with homework and studies, and also helping your children graduate with honors from high school. So those are some of our upcoming workshops. And tonight, we are so happy to have Dr. Kennedy from South Central Training Consortium. For over 30 years, Dr. Kennedy has been fortunate to create and serve as a bridge between academia and service to the community. She is the founder and chief executive officer of the South Central Training Consortium, a nonprofit agency designed to train and supervise graduate psychology students during their internship. Wow. As students are in training, they serve underrepresented families in South Los Angeles and surrounding areas. Over the same 30-year period, she has held several academic university positions, believing that the strength and usefulness of any institute of higher learning is its service to its community. She currently serves as the Dean of Education, Transformation and Strategic Alliances at Union Institute and University. As a licensed marriage family therapist, she specializes in treating generational family trauma, especially related to family emotional suffering, communication, and healing. Thank you so much, Dr. Kennedy, for being here. I am going to make you host
Thank you.
and turn it over, stop sharing my screen and turn it over to you.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me and allowing me to come and speak with you all today. And thank you for those who came on time, and we appreciate that. I am going to attempt to share my screen, and give me one moment to do that. I appreciate that.
Let me know if it's okay. Perfect.
There we go. Okay. Let's see if an old gal can do this right. Let's see. Ah, there we go. I'm catching up with the new day. Okay, appreciate it. So again, I appreciate this time together with you. I hope this is an interactive activity. You can join in and ask questions or participate as you see fit. I understand this is your first session in the new year, and so I appreciate being the first one. I'm not familiar with your group, but I hope to become familiar with you. I am, Rebecca, do I need to admit people? Yes.
I will go ahead and monitor that. Do you want to make
Okay.
me co-host? I should have made you co-host. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, let's do that real quick.
Thank you for your patience, everyone.
Yes, okay. So I have to stop my screen for a second or no? No, I see.
The little dots over my image.
Yes. Make co-host. There we go. There we go. Okay.
And then as they come in, I will admit them.
Perfect.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Oh, that's no problem. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We were just getting started. So I want to maybe join with you today to talk a little bit about grief and loss and depression. I'd like to talk about what does that mean for us? What does that mean, grief and loss and depression? How does that, what does it mean for us as adults? I am accustomed to working in family systems. I don't believe in just looking at kids or just looking at adults, but I like to look at how a system works together. So if you would allow me to talk a little bit about adults before we move into talking about our children, I think when we come together as parents, I know it's a parent group, therefore we want to talk about the kids. I'd like for us to talk about ourselves first, because we are the leaders of our families, and our children pay attention to what we do. And if we want to talk about grief and loss and depression, we need to talk a little bit about how we handle grief and loss, how we handle depression, how we handle our emotions, because our children will follow our lead. Yes? So I want to talk a little bit about that. This slide here kind of talks about homostasis. It's a slide that's trying to show us balance within the body, balance within the
Dr.
Yes.
Kennedy, I'm sorry. I don't see anything. I see a blank screen.
Oh my goodness, you see a blank screen. What does that tell
Am
you?
I the only one? Is it just me or?
That tells
screen as well.
It's blank. Okay,
Yes,
what does that tell me? What did I do wrong?
So
when you might have to share the screen, Rebecca.
Okay, do you want me to pull it up, or
Yes.
if you go to share screen, you're going to get different options of what you want to share, and you just have to click on the.
I did that.
Oh, shoot.
So I can see it, but you guys can't.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That just tells me something's wrong on my end, I had imagined.
Well, that's why we left a little room for technical difficulties.
Yes, you did. I'm so sorry. I'm looking at it, just running around with it.
Don't be. See, now I'm having technical difficulties. I need to pull this up.
One moment.
One moment as my computer decides to freak out. So I just pulled it up. And I'm going to share my screen. Thank you all for your patience. I really appreciate it. Can you all see that?
Yes.
So I'll go ahead and
Okay, I appreciate
just
it.
click it for you. Okay.
So let's go to the next slide. Next slide. And this will hold here for a second. So as I was just saying, this is just a slide. Can everyone see that? The skeleton body there. So the concept, of course, is the concept of homostasis, the concept of staying in balance. Okay, next slide. So homostasis, let's just stay here for just a second. The concept of the body trying to stay in balance. That's what our body is trying to do every day. When we get up and get through the day, our systems within our body are just trying to keep it together, stay in balance, stay in a state of equilibrium. The word comes from the Greek meaning similar and stable. Similar and stable. Those are two key words. Something that's similar to us and stable, that keeps us feeling that we're okay. Okay, next slide. We're going to revisit this, but this is what the body's trying to do. This concept here comes from a psychiatrist by the name of Dan Siegel, and he talks to us about this concept of the window of tolerance. You see that there? Those two lines going across is where that balance is. That body's trying to stay within that balance. We're going along our day, stress comes, and we're going la. Oh, we get a little stressed, but we're okay. We come up and down. We're doing okay. We're having a good day. We have some ups and downs. We have a good week. We have some ups and downs. But for the most part, we stay balanced. We have a way of going up and down. That's the window of tolerance, right? It's how we function effectively. The body can function pretty effectively as long as we stay in that window of tolerance, okay? But inevitably, things happen that are not so easy. Stressors happen to us that take us out of that window, right? It hits the fan, right? So something happens that spikes us out of that window. And each of us handles that situation a little differently. And it's not so much what it is, but how we handle it that can cause us to be off balance, right? You follow me? We don't have to get too technical, but I want you to kind of keep this visual in your mind, because this pandemic has caused us to have quite a few of these spikes, right? Oh my goodness, here's another one, oh my goodness. So our bodies have been going outside of this window of tolerance for a year now, hasn't it? Our whole families, we've been going outside. If you see the spike going above, the hyperarousal, the sympathetic hyperarousal, if you see those words there, if we go to where we're anxious and something happens, it causes anxiety, it causes us to get nervous and anxious and scared. We're at that hyper side, we're anxious and revved up. And what we're going to talk about more today is the lower end, the hypoarousal, the parasympathetic. That's when we get flat, the depression, the place where we don't want to move, the place where we don't want to get out of bed sometimes. So that's that hypoarousal. We'll talk more about that, but I just want to see let you see this picture. There's a connection between that balanced picture I just showed you and what's going on in the body. This picture shows your insides, your hormonal systems, your nervous system, your brain messages to your body of what's going on when stress comes along. Okay? Any questions there? I made that simplistic, but I think you probably all get the point. The idea is
I have a
stress
question.
coming through. Go ahead, Brenda.
Yes, you are talking about this. Is a way that we can know if we are normal? I mean, like a approve or something?
If say it again, if there's a way, if we can know if we're kind of outside of the norm.
Yes, yeah, that's
Yes,
my question. Yes.
good question. So as we go along, we're going to talk about that. Thank you for the question, but we're going to answer that question as we go along. But we need to know that there is that normal range, and your normal range and my normal range is not the same. Your child's normal range and someone else's child's normal range is not the same. So it's a very good question. So let's keep that in front of us so we make sure we're paying attention to that. Okay. Next slide, please. So now let's talk a little bit about grief and loss. And again, I'm taking it maybe more from an adult position, because if we understand our own, we can better understand our children. So grief and loss, just as a definition, grief is a natural response to loss. It's the emotional suffering you feel when something or someone you love is taken away. You may associate grief with the death of a loved one. And this type of loss does often cause the most intense grief. However, loss can be grief, including, but the loss can be caused by grief, including, next slide, many of these other things. And you probably can think of others, but it can be a relationship breakup, losing your job, death, of course, of a friend, a loss of a friendship, loss of safety after trauma. Who can think of any others? I mean, there's so many. Just anything that you feel a loss. Anyone? Just chime in if you can think of any loss. Death of a pet. It says here, death of a cherished dream. Right?
I can think of a lot related to COVID.
Yes.
I was gonna
We're
say
going
a
to get,
social
we're going
life.
to get to just COVID, a COVID slide just for COVID, because we can go on and on for COVID, right? So we're going to get there. So absolutely. But even a loss of a dream, and COVID took a lot of our dreams away. But that's what grief and loss is. It's natural loss and the grief of that loss. Okay, next slide. So this natural process of us having a loss and grieving that loss, Dr. Kubler-Ross, you might have heard of her name. She identified 5 stages of grief. She never said that the stages were in order, but that we go through certain stages. And the stages include denial. And we've all experienced this. This can't be happening. It just can't be happening. You just know that, you just feel that, when someone tells you someone or something has happened, it's denial. Anger. Why is this happening to me? Who did this? You're just furious. You're going to have to find someone or something. The anger is just overwhelming. Bargaining. Make this not happen, right? And if this goes away, I will do this. You start bargaining. You don't know who you're bargaining with, but you're just bargaining, right? You're trying to make it go away. Depression is, of course, part of the grief process. I'm too sad to do anything. You're just lethargic. You can't move. Part of the process. And then the final stage is acceptance. I'm at peace with what happened. Going in and out of these stages is part of the natural grief process. Okay, next slide. The grief is really more like a roller coaster. You have good days and bad days. You have happiness, you have sadness, you have music, you have not music, you have um, highs and lows. It's a lot of crying and a lot of emotional instability. So grief and loss does take you in highs and lows. So there is a difference between depression and grief and loss. So grief and loss is natural, and it is about highs and lows and ups and downs and good days and bad days. Um, sometimes you feel numb, and then some days you feel okay, and then you feel okay, and next thing you know, you're not okay. That's what grief and loss is about, the roller coaster of the highs and lows. Okay. Um, a little bit to Brenda's question, how do you know it's not in a normal stage? It's when it's not a roller coaster. It is too intense. You can't go to any highs. Um, you have complete denial of the death. You can't function without the loved one. You can't function at all. You avoid things that remind you of the loved one. You have intrusive thoughts of the loved one. You have intense longing and yearning of the loved one. So we'll talk a little bit about what you do about that, but that's how you know that it's complicated grief. It's what we call, what a therapist, what a clinician would call a complicated grief. So there's normal grief, highs and lows, but complicated is when you can't actually feel the highs and lows. You're staying in the lows all the time. Okay, next slide. So now let's talk about the pandemic. Oh boy, right? So if we're talking about grief and loss is about things we cherish, people we care about, dreams that we cared about. Let's share about some of those losses that this pandemic has caused. I think, Rebecca, you even had a couple of thoughts in your mind. What are some of the losses that we've had during this pandemic?
Well, I was just thinking, especially with our teens, the loss of a senior year,
Yes.
the loss of graduation, and then obviously illness of a loved one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So socializing, right? The ability to see friends, um, just hanging out with friends, right? Adolescents being able to hang out, just kids sleepovers and going to the park and just being with each other, right? The things that are so important, that make us human, right? Those things we lost.
I
Those
have
things.
one too. Just the physical touch, because we weren't
Yes.
able to physically hug or embrace each other during the
Hmm.
pandemic.
It's almost, you forgot how to do that, huh? Yes. What about seeing grandparents and babies being born and grandparents seeing their grandkids and just those relationships? Some others. Brenda, I see your mic's off. Were you going to say something?
Me?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say something.
Yes, I have a question. Can you suffer for different type of loss through the years and get like it's all in a whole type of emotion and ended up depression? It
Yes.
could happen.
Yes. So you're absolutely right. So when this unresolved grief, so let's move into depression. Good. We can go to the next slide. Brenda's taking us right along here. Brenda, you have an agenda.
Oh, no.
So depression, let's look at the difference between kind of a normal grief and loss process versus depression. So let's look at depression that's more than just feeling sad, right? All of us have sad days, right? We're in that normal window of tolerance. We have our up days and our bad days and our we don't feel so great days. But when we start moving into depression, depression is often more chronic, right? It is daily. It is something that is often diagnosable. Diagnosable, a clinician would diagnose. I don't want you to think that you should be diagnosing people who might have depression as something that a clinician should diagnose. But these are some of the things that a clinician is looking for. And it is that depressed mood all day, every day, 4 days. So they're going to look for how long a person is feeling down, how often, and all day in the depressed mood. So that's what they're looking for, first of all. They're looking for things like changes in appetite, like overeating and undereating, when they're not trying to, right? When you're not on a diet. You just don't have it in you to eat. You don't care. You used to like going to certain places to eat, and maybe you show up, but you're not actually eating. You're kind of nibbling. You're not even tasting. So those kind of changes. So when you see your friends kind of doing that, you can see a change. So a doctor's going to be asking those kind of questions, right? Fatigue, not having any energy, just tired all the time, just no energy, no will to move, basically. Just lethargic and little energy. Also, having sleep disturbances, the not being able to fall asleep, not able to stay asleep, or sleeping all the time. Just your sleeping patterns have changed is another sign. Feeling worthless, or guilty. And sometimes it's guilty about something that's happened and you just can't let it go, that you have blamed yourself for something. If only I had, if only I had. And so you can't let go of that. Even when people say, this is not your fault, but you can't let it go. So you have this overwhelming guilty feeling about something, or feelings of worthless. You just feel worthless. Having a hard time concentrating or making decisions. You just your brain's in a fog. People are saying, so do you want to go here? You want to go there? Where do you want to go on vacation? I don't know. Just kind of not there, not able to make a decision, or you're at work, you can't concentrate, right? Also, for diagnosis of depression, your normal routine, your job, your school, your social activities would have to be not functioning well. So the things that you would normally do during the day would be suffering. So you kind of can't be diagnosed with depression when actually at work you're doing great. So it's kind of like you can't be depressed at home. For the diagnosis, depression is pervasive throughout your day, throughout your week. Okay. And then the thoughts of ending your life is also another sign of depression, especially major depression. So there are levels of depression. There's treatment for depression, and seeking help is ideal. It's not something that you can treat on your own, basically. Now, having a bad mood, those kinds of things, and we'll talk about that. When those things that we'll talk about don't work, then you're gonna seek medical care. Okay. Suppression. Remember that first slide we saw with the window of tolerance and the balance. So suppressing your inner, I want you to kind of hear this, suppressing your inner cries for help does not stop your stress hormones from mobilizing the body. Okay, which means just because you say everything's fine, when you don't actually feel fine, your body is still in that state of the hypo state of depression. Okay, in other words, your body is creating the stress hormones that will still cause you to be in that depressive mood. So it's not about actually what you say, it's about what you do. So saying I'm fine doesn't make you fine. You hear what I'm saying? So someone says, I'm good, I'm actually good, as they pick at their food, it's still a sign that there's possible depression. It's not what they say, it's what they do. Okay? Does that make sense? Next slide. So let's talk about hope and what we can do and how we're going to pick ourselves up and some things we can do. And we're going to talk about kids. So hope, I like this. I just like this. A Dr. Worthington in 2014 kind of coined this saying, hope is handling our problems effectively. That took me back to that balance. If I'm handling what's coming at me, if I'm handling the stressors, then I'm going to stay in balance, which means I actually have a vision of I'm okay and I'm hopeful for my future. So hope has to do with future. It says I have hope for the future. And the only way I have hope for the future is when I think I'm handling things. I feel like I'm in control of things and I'm handling things that are coming to me, right? That's that word hope, okay? So next slide, please. Let's see how we can do some things. So some of the things that you want to do, especially as an adult, and this applies to some kids, is first of all, make sure that you are in touch with feelings. Now, some of us don't know how to be in touch with feelings, quite frankly. Us parent types and us survivor types have a way of scooting feelings under the rug. We're very motivated to do things, right? We like to get busy doing things. Remember, again, when stress comes along, if you can't name it, you can't actually do something about it. So you want to be able to face your feelings. Many of us respond to grief by not naming it, but by developing migraine headaches or backaches or a whole list of other things, right? That actually is the physical manifestation of the grief that we're carrying inside of us. So it's easier for us to say something like my back hurts than to say, I actually am still missing someone, I'm still hurting emotionally. So some of us struggle around the idea of emotional pain. Other things we can do is take care of our physical health, write in journals, draw upon our faith. It's another thing to do. Join a support group. So these are things that are listed here that could help you if you're wanting to kind of deal with grief and loss, especially all the grief that many of us have experienced during this pandemic. The plan ahead for grief triggers is also a good thing to do. That's the anniversary of things where you can create ceremonial activity around the loss of someone, do things with families, do things that honor your loved ones, those kinds of things. Mindfulness techniques are also very helpful. So these are some of the things that you can do to help you begin to deal with grief and loss. Any other ideas that you might have that has helped you with grief and loss? Anybody want to chime in?
I really like how you say, Dr. Kennedy, to face your feelings. I think that has been really successful for me. And just working with my own kids, just saying, you're probably sad. You're just sad about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to do it for somebody else. It's really hard to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
So getting in practice of doing that is very helpful. Thank you for saying that.
Yes. Because if we say it for ourselves, then we can teach our children how to say that. But often it's hard for us to do that with our children because we actually don't do it for ourselves. If we can say, mommy's sad,
Mhm.
also, then it gives the kids permission to be sad,
Yeah.
right? And so we'll talk about the kids now. So next slide. And so quickly here, before we move on to the kids, these are just a couple of things that probably is not new to you in your thinking. Remember that depressed stage, right? That depressed stage of the arousal, where you're below your window of tolerance, where you're kind of in that depressed state, part of the body that the body needs to be activated. You need to have arousal. You need to kind of get the body moving so you're not just kind of in that depressed mode. So you need to do little quick things that will help lift you up out of that. And that's a physical thing. It's not just, I think I'm down. It is your body is actually down. You need to move a little bit and get the juices going in your body physically. And I know you've heard this. That's why people get up and exercise. That's why they get up and, take a walk. They do different things that help them lift their mood. And these are some of those things. Even brushing your teeth, the mint flavor of toothpaste kind of heightens and wakes you up a little bit and gets you activated. Sitting in front of a Zoom all day for you and your kids, sometimes you need little spikes, right? You got to get up, walk around, get moving a little bit, because just sitting in front of the camera all day doesn't help when you need to get your body moving. So movement, dance, and music, many of us have certain songs that get us activated. So that's what you want to do. Smelling incense, essential oils, the smell. You know how food arouses you as far as the smell. So things that kind of go, whoo, oh, that smells good. What's happening? That helps you wake up and move. So that's just to increase the arousal when you're feeling a little down and you need to pick yourself up a little bit. Okay, next slide.
I also heard that like opening the curtains, letting the sunshine in, or going for a walk, not just staying confined into the house in the darkness.
There you go. Absolutely. Makes a big difference. Journaling helps you rethink some things, but we're talking about kind of the eyes opening, the being the light outside, seeing the trees or greenery, walking outside, breathing the air outside. All those things are very good to do. Absolutely. Deep breathing, right? Taking a breath in and letting it out. Always, that's something that you can do. Deep breathing exercises are excellent. It just changes your mood, just doing that for 2 minutes. Meditation, those kinds of things really help. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about the kids. So next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the children. So I think I have 2 slides about the younger children and one about the older children. So when you start to see some signs of your children, some distress, some possible signs towards depression, these are some of the things you might see. This fussiness, they kind of can't seem settled. They're normally not fussy, but all of a sudden they're just fussy over just everything. You're trying to get them to do one thing, or you're playing a game, or they were playing a game, and all of a sudden they just can't handle it. It's like just fussy. They're just fussy all the time. So a fussiness that's not usual, it's not customary for them, is a sign. Falling asleep and waking up more during the night is also a sign. It means they can't calm themselves. Something's on their mind, they're ruminating, and they're waking up, going to sleep, waking up, they can't calm themselves, which means something's going on with them. Feeding issues, such as stomach pain, their bowel movements are off. They're too loose or they're too tight. They've got some feeding things going on with their stomachs, their bowel problems. separation anxiety. All of a sudden, the kid who couldn't wait to get out the car and run away from you, all of a sudden doesn't want to get out of the car, doesn't want to leave, doesn't want to go wherever they're normally wanting to go. They don't want to leave your side. That's another sign. We're really talking about changes in a child. You know, you're used to seeing them do this, and now they're doing something different. Hitting, frustration, biting, for especially younger kids, and more frequent, intense tantrums is also another sign. Conflict and aggression, or themes like illness or death during play. So remember that sign, homostasis, stability, and similar. That's what kids are looking for. That's what we're all looking for. So this pandemic has thrown them off, and they don't know what's safe because the world is done something strange that they're not accustomed to. They can't go to school. They're not sure why. Are they ever going to go back? All these things are going on in their mind, and they can't articulate these things. So the way they articulate them is through their body movements, right? Through their behavior. Their behavior does some strange things, and underneath is because they do not feel safe, they do not feel stable, and they're not sure when the world's going to get stable. Does that make sense? Children react to their environment by behaving a certain way, and they usually can't just talk it through. It is really the parent that has to recognize these signs and help their children, bring the children close to them and have some talking and some discussions around this. You kind of just can't see it as behavior. It is a sign that they're distressed about something. And they have a lot to be distressed about because their whole world is upside down, right? Let's go to the older children, then we'll wrap back around to the younger children. So for older children, we talked about them losing so much of social interaction, the proms, the basketball games, on and on and on. They're going to have changes in mood, changes in their behavior. They're going to be sulky, more snappy, irritable, also having sleep problems. Same with the eating. They can have the eating, not wanting to eat, overeating, eating all the time. So you're going to see those kinds of problems. You could problems with memory, thinking, or concentration, interest in schoolwork. So you're going to see these same similar things that you see in adults. You're going to see a little bit more risky behaviors. You might see that. Adolescents, by the nature of being an adolescent, are often a little bit more risky because they're adolescents, but it might increase during this time, especially during a pandemic, because they're even more fearful of what's going on. It's a way for them to calm themselves down. Okay. Now, some of these signs in adolescence are the fact they're adolescents, right? It's hard for us to know because adolescence, the stage of adolescence is to try to experiment, to try to find out who they are. It's the stage of peer interaction. So there's a lot of things going on with adolescents. So it is important for adolescents to talk to each other, to create peer groups with adolescents, for them to be amongst each other because they listen to each other. So it is important to give adolescents that space to be together. Next slide, we'll talk about that. So this, I'm talking fast now because I know we only have 10 minutes. Depression, iceberg. I put this slide here so to give you a visual as you're looking at your friends and your children. With children, you'll see that the top of the iceberg, I'm not sure if anyone's ever seen a slide like this. You see the behavior of the iceberg: anger, sleep issues, defiance, avoidance, they're negative, whatever, what have you. The top of the iceberg is the behavior you might see. But the bottom of the iceberg, what's underneath that you don't see, is all these other things that could be going on. And that's where they feel helpless. or insecure or hurt or, ashamed, depressed, stuck, right? Their future is insecure. There are all these other things that a young, especially the adolescents, might be feeling, but any of us could be feeling. But that's the point of this, is what you see and versus what's underneath what you see. Does that make sense? It's an iceberg feeling chart so that you can differentiate what a person shows you what versus what the person is actually feeling. Going to therapy helps a person actually get in touch with those feelings underneath. But even you as a parent, you have to find a way to talk with your family members. And I say family members, not just your children, because everybody in a household need to learn how to talk about and communicate with family. So everyone can share their feelings and their thoughts. So they're not just yelling at each other. You're not just putting each other down. You're not getting on each other's nerves, but you're actually communicating in a helpful, healing manner. Okay. Next slide. So now I think you're looking at creating a new normal because the old normal is gone. So we've got a new normal coming up. We've got to figure out how to function a little differently. As we, I guess we're getting ready to go out a little bit more. I haven't been out the house in a year, but anyway, that's just me. So, but how do we fix our households so that we feel more secure? Those depressive moods and those depressive thoughts are brought to the surface where we feel safe that we can talk about them, and we create the loving place in our homes where people do feel stable and safe, and we go back to our homostasis situation so that we don't let the pandemic actually rule the day, right? So here are some suggestions that we can talk about with our families as we work together through this thing. One of the biggest things I think is to suggest, and you might already do this, but family nights, movie nights. The young kids pick the movie, the older kids pick the movie, or walks together, talk nights, games. These things are probably not new to you. But how important they are. I can't stress how important these things are. We concentrate on a student's academic success, but their emotional success is as important, if not more important, than any other success. A person who feels good about themselves will want to do well in school. A person who feels safe would want to be the best they can be in school. So their emotional health is very important, and that starts with the relationships and in the home. And so we have to find exercises to make sure that that's whole. And I think we have one more slide. Is it the slide, the next one? Yeah, and I think this is the last one. So taking care to set the tone, set the tone in your home, stay positive, spend time together as a family and time with individual members, attend to your own mental health, and keep the lines of communication open between family members. So that's what I wanted to share, and I would like to have questions or comments, and I kind of rushed through that because I knew we ran out of time. So Tracy, your thoughts?
I wanted to share that one of the things that we did was took advantage of the 40-minute free Zoom and was able to have Zoom calls with the family. Even if it was for 40 minutes, we were able to allow my son to connect with family and then also connect with friends.
Yes.
Have Zoom calls set up with friends where he can do Zoom time, and they got a chance to play games like Minecraft while they were on the Zoom call with each other, and play different things that they were able to share just through the online version, but also work with each other
Yes.
in sharing. So that 40 minutes was really helpful. And then my son, one of his closest friends from elementary school, they just made calls every Sunday. They were able to call and just talk to each other for however long they wanted to, until, you know, of course, we told them it was time to go to bed. But just having that time, I think that's what helped him a lot mentally, because he was able to just talk to somebody and get to share and talk and share about how they feel. And then their school did do advisory every morning. They do advisory for 15 minutes every morning. They get to talk to them about things that they may be hearing or seeing that's going on. And then they also talk to the children about how they feel. So they get to share out in advisory. So I thought that was very helpful.
Yes, thanks for sharing that. Those are ideal. Ideal. Love it. Some other thoughts or questions?
Hi, you guys, this is Regina Creighton. I just want to chime in. Our family did the same thing that the other lady did, and we've actually been doing it since last May. We do a family prayer night every Thursday, rain or shine, no matter if it's 2 family members, no matter if it's 15 of us. We do it every Thursday, and we're supposed to be on for like 30 minutes. But sometimes we're on for like 2 hours because, you know, we're all local here in California, but some are in the IE, some on the West Side. And, you know, we would normally be able to get together unless it was like, you know, something really special event. So we've really been enjoying it. We have a couple family members that are out of state. My daughter's in Chicago. We have another cousin, she's in Texas. So 2 cousins actually now in Texas because one moved there. They're not always able to get on because of the time difference, but we also have a Facebook family group page where we can, you know, give updates in that page. We can post pictures, let, you know, everybody know what's going on, give the reminders about the Zoom call and all of that. And last week on accident, it was really funny. I hit the Zoom. So some kind of way my computer started playing music. I don't know what I hit or whatever, but then we had a dance party. So we had a really good time on accident. And we, you know, always take pictures and videos. So we put that in the family group. And everybody's like, oh, I'm going to come on Thursday because this music accidentally went off. And we didn't even tell them that it accidentally went off, but we just all started dancing. And so we've been really having a good time on Zoom, and it's open to, you know, the women, the guys, the kids, whoever, but we really enjoy it. So we just kept it up.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Thank you so much for letting me speak.
We're gonna all join your dance party. It's like, who are those people? Oh, some other thoughts. Well, I appreciate your time. Hope that was helpful. And that is the end.
We appreciate your time as well.
That was wonderful. Dr. Kennedy, you gave us so much to think about and so much to be aware of. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to share your insight with the community. So thank you on behalf of the Wooten Center, on behalf of the parents, and on behalf of myself as a mother too, and as an individual who's navigating this very unusual scenario that we find ourselves. So I really appreciate it. I just want to remind you all that this is being recorded. It will be uploaded to the YouTube page, to the Wooten website as well. So look for that tomorrow if you want to go back, look at the slides again, and any information that you want to share with your friends with regards to our parent power group, please do come back next week. We'll be here Monday, same time, same place. Please register, and we hope you all have a very safe week and a dry week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.